Welcome back, focused learners. Okay, today's explainer is all about distilling the absolute core, high-yield teachings from just the very first chapter of Xavier Shedamung's book, Stop Chasing Shadows. You know that feeling when you're just constantly grinding, working so hard, but somehow not making any tangible, meaningful progress? Well, we're going to unpack exactly how to actually grow to accommodate your dreams, instead of just blindly running after them.
Okay, let's dive straight into this. To really grasp what it actually means to chase shadows, Shadaming shares this incredibly relatable story right out of the gate in Chapter 1. Picture this, all right? It's a gorgeous, sunny afternoon at Ahmadu Bello University in Nigeria. Our author is literally sprinting to class because, and we've all been there, he hit the snooze button on his alarm, so he's rushing out of his room like a bullet to get to this lecture. But in all that frantic haste, disaster strikes. He falls straight into a ditch and severely bruises his leg. Not his finest moment, right? But it left him with a permanent scar and, more importantly, a permanent lesson. It wasn't dark out. The sun was shining brightly. The ditch was right there in plain sight. He fell for one simple reason. He was rushing.
So the crucial takeaway here is this. Rushing literally blinds you to reality. I mean, the moral of this opening story is just so profound. Your energy, your vigor, all that relentless hustle you have for your goals, it can actually become a massive force of distraction. It sounds totally counterintuitive, right? But Shademan makes this point that if your ambition makes you ignore the environment right in front of you, you're going to end up stepping into ditches in broad daylight. You're no longer chasing real, structured success. You're just chasing vague shadows. And honestly, blind hustle, it really only leaves you with scars.
To fix this, we need a solid system. Based right on that opening chapter's lesson, we must intentionally build our lives on 4 distinct pillars. 1. Gather information. 2. Expand capacity. 3. Leverage mentorship. And 4. Achieve balanced success.
Let's start with pillar number 1. Gather information. The absolute foundation of any intelligent pursuit is simply knowing enough about your path to avoid those ditches entirely. Like Gordon Gekko famously said, the most valuable commodity I know of is information. Shida Meng uses this to show us that information is literally the tool that transforms ignorance into a real advantage. Every single distraction you face comes from either a lack of information or just having the wrong information. And here's a fascinating historical and spiritual example he uses. Even Jesus spent 18 silent years from age 12 all the way to 30 studying, inquiring, and just growing his knowledge before he ever started his public ministry. You really cannot skip the information gathering phase. It's your blueprint. Now, there's a really critical difference between the 2 biggest threats on your journey: ignorance and disobedience. You absolutely cannot afford to entertain either of these. So ignorance is simply a lack of knowledge, right? What you don't know can and absolutely will destroy you, mostly because you just won't see the ditches coming. But disobedience, that is even more tragic. This is when you actually know the rules of success. You know the unwritten codes and principles, but you stubbornly refuse to follow the instructions. Ignorance gets you hurt, but disobedience literally costs you your blessing. Let's move on to pillar number 2, expand capacity. So as you gather that information and start to rise, you're going to quickly realize something. Success is incredibly heavy. It demands serious structural support, both mentally and physically. Just think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs for a second. Just as our human needs escalate as we move up that pyramid, from basic physiological survival right at the bottom all the way up to self-actualization at the very peak, the requirement for your personal capacity grows at every single new stage of success. What got you to the base of the pyramid absolutely will not sustain you at the peak. You have to build the mental, physical, and spiritual capacity to survive the pressure of your new levels. And hey, as you're climbing that pyramid, there is a super vital warning you need to remember. You will fail. It's going to happen. But you absolutely must stop personifying failure. On the climb up, a failure is literally just an event. It's a highly usable tool that gives you data. But the very second you look at a failing event and start calling yourself a failure, you've internalized it. And if you personify failure like that, you will inevitably just get frustrated and give up. You've got to separate your identity from the event itself. Now, to minimize those painful events while you're expanding your capacity, you have to take intelligent risks. Shidamong lays out this precise 5-step framework to make sure you aren't just stepping blindly into the unknown. First, know your strengths and leverage them. Second, strictly identify your weaknesses and actually work on them. Third, really understand the opportunities in taking a specific risk relative to your goals. Fourth, know your threats so you can handle anything unexpected. And finally, step 5, only after evaluating all of that whole shebang can you surmise the absolute best next action to take. All right, bringing us to pillar number 3, leverage mentorship. Look, you can gather information alone, and sure, you can build capacity alone, but a solid system of mentorship, that is the ultimate cheat code. It turns what could easily be a 400-year struggle in the wilderness into a simple 40-day journey. To explain why this is so insanely powerful, the author shares this brilliant anecdote from Dr. Sam Adeyemi. Think about public information, like a seminar, a public Zoom call, or even a book. That information is basically like one-size-fits-all clothing. It might fit you perfectly, it might be a little baggy, or it might not fit you at all. But direct coaching and mentorship, that takes the exact same wisdom and perfectly tailors it to your specific size, your unique struggles, and your exact life. It literally turns generic knowledge into customized power. But you really have to know how to interact with mentors. Let's rapid fire through these critical rules of engagement. First, seek safe counsel. Second, and honestly, I love this one, focus on learning, not just taking photos. Don't just meet a great person for a selfie. Ask them a question that'll give you information to last a lifetime. Third, align with their core values. Fourth, never, ever compromise your character or your integrity just to serve a mentor. Honestly, if they ask you to do that, they are the wrong mentor. And finally, earn their sponsorship. A mentor is not a free ATM for your dreams, right? You have to actually earn their backing through your own expanded capacity. And that brings us to our final destination, pillar number 4, balanced success. So you've gathered the info, you've built your capacity, and you've found that tailored mentorship. This all culminates in something so much deeper than just money or status. There is a profound contrast here between success and fulfillment. Shada Mong makes this really sharp observation that success can actually exist entirely without fulfillment. You can have all the money and all the accolades in the world and still feel completely empty inside. But true fulfillment, that's different. That is the absolute peak of human need. True fulfillment only comes from executing your unique assigned purpose. It's all about finding absolute alignment in your life, not just acquiring more stuff.
And we achieve this alignment through vision, which Shedman defines exactly like this: a reality hidden in time, made manifest by work and process bounded by time. If you don't firmly define this vision in your head first, you simply cannot manifest it. You're just going to spend your entire life reacting to the world, reacting to alarms, rushing out the door, and yep, falling straight into ditches. Vision is the thing that gives your work an actual destination.
Which leaves us with one final, absolutely vital question for you. Are you ready to stop chasing shadows? Think back to that ditch we talked about at the very beginning. Are you going to keep rushing blindly, letting raw ambition distract you from the obstacles right there at your feet? Or are you going to intentionally gather information, purposefully expand your capacity, and leverage mentors to build a truly structured, deeply fulfilled destiny? The choice is entirely yours.